Hey, sister girls, it's Dylesia, and welcome to a special episode of Mother Daughter Trauma Recovery TV. If you spin the block on me every Monday, welcome, welcome, welcome back. Congratulations to you for taking the necessary steps toward healing. If you're new here, I'm like the sister you never had who helps you heal from the experiences with your mom that you rarely talk about. And on today's episode, we're going to talk about recovering from the holidays with your toxic mom. So that's why you see me just chilling here. I'm on a bed in our apartment and I am just relaxing. I got my pajamas on. I am just vibing, okay? Because that's what we're on right now. When you are needing to recover from a toxic situation, you got to be relaxed, okay? So the first thing is you've just got done coming back from whatever road trip, or maybe you flew, whatever the case may be, you are here. I need you to get on something comfy, pause this video, have your tea or whatever beverage you decide that you want to have. I don't have a beverage with me because I don't have anywhere to put it and I like to talk with my hands. But do whatever you need to get cozy, okay? If you want to put your eye patches under your eye, if you want to put your hair up, your bonnet on. Obviously, I'm not going to come up here with the bonnet on trying to talk because it might not be a scalable video. So I am looking a little bit more upscale than I do when I usually go to sleep. But this is the vibe that we're on, okay? We're having a little pajama party to talk about just everything that has happened over the course of this holiday break. So either way, like I said, I want you to get cozy first of all, and let's just jump into it, okay? This doesn't have to be a long video. It can be straightforward and to the point. And honestly, the first thing you got to do if you're trying to recover from anything, let alone a toxic encounter with your mom over the holidays, you have to be honest about the fact that something happened and that there is something to heal from, right? So you cannot heal what you won't reveal. So I want you to maybe even pause the video right now and jot down a few things that happened during that holiday encounter that were difficult. If you've been watching since my first video, which was how to survive a holiday dinner with your toxic mom, then you've already been keeping track. You already have your list on your phone and you know exactly what happened when. You have your keywords in there and you've been prepared and gearing them up for your therapy session. However, if you have not, watched my last video, or maybe you didn't engage in the exercise, then maybe this is new to you. I need you to know, either in your mind, on a list, in your phone, whatever the case may be, what happened? What are we needing to heal from? Because the thing about healing is it is not just I need to heal. There are layers to it, right? So if we're saying like the holiday was bad, what made the holiday bad? Y'all hear me use this example all the time. It's really like an envelope. Think of an envelope. The envelope was the holiday. What little pieces of paper do we need to put in there? And what do the pieces of paper say? So obviously, I'm estranged from my mom, so I don't have any examples about what happened this holiday with her, other than the fact that, I just didn't have a mom. So there was a lot of responsibility on me as the matriarch of my family, considering that I am a young matriarch, which is what me and one of my friends, she actually lost her mom due to her passing away. So we can relate in the way of, girl, I have so much responsibility on me, and a lot of other women have the capacity to share this with someone. As we know, sometimes holidays are approached from a multi-generational perspective when it comes to women and preparing the food. And, if it's maybe Christmas or something that you're recovering from, then of course that's like gift wrapping and things of that nature. We don't have that. As young matriarchs, if you're someone who's estranged from your mom or the relationship is far too toxic for you to even be around her, then that's something that you have to contend with, is that all this is on me unless I delegate it out to other people who are not my mom. So for me, I know this holiday was a little bit challenging because I did not have the foresight to know, okay, you need to delegate. So Thanksgiving was tough because my husband ran out of responsibilities before I did. So I was over there hot because you just sitting there chilling with our girls, and I'm over here slaving in the kitchen because the dishes that I'm cooking are far more than the one piece of brisket that you decided to add onto our menu at the last minute and I told you to cook it. But you're done before I am. So with that resentment, I decided, okay, next holiday, I'm going to be sure that I delegate responsibilities to you. So next Thanksgiving cycle, when that runs back around, I'm going to teach you how to cook some things throughout the year so that I can say, boom, these are your dishes for the holiday. And for Christmas, I was definitely in a better position because we decided to do a brunch. He actually knows how to cook brunch food, and we actually collaborated on the development of the menu. So those are the capacity of feelings that I experienced in relation to my mom. However, I do still have a husband who has a mom, and his mom has her toxic ways about her for sure. So I can certainly relate to you all. I'm not completely exempt or in an island from moms. And like I said, even when you are, you still got some feelings about that. There are days and days and days, probably I can count, I need multiple hands to be able to count the amount of days that I've been like, you know what, I don't want my mom because I know she's not capable of giving me the support that I actually need. But it would be nice to have a mom, right? Like a mom who is capable of doing that. And other people have it and I don't. And I don't get into the comparisons of it all, but it's just like, why is it all on me, God? So I want y'all to know that that is not a hard thing, but let's shift, or not an easy thing rather, but let's shift back to the topic of the video, which is recovering from actual things that happened within your relationship with your mom while you were with her for the holidays. So my example, we actually call all of our family on the holidays. We'll do FaceTimes with them. I'll do my dad. I'll do one of my best friends who is the girl's godmom. Sometimes there'll be other people that are thrown into the mix for on my end. But for the most part, it's those two. Sometimes I do my cousin, those types of things. My husband is always going to call or either always receive a call from his brothers, his mom. All of them live in the same place out in Virginia. So everybody calls at once because everyone is usually in the same place. So we get these calls, we stay on them for however long we stay on them. And generally when the girls and Nigel are talking to at least his mom, I usually kind of, go do something else or whatever, because I know that sly comments can be made, that are either intentional or unintentional, but oftentimes can be made to seem as if they not didn't actually happen. So there's like a gaslighting component to it. So for me, I don't want to hear anything. Like I don't want to hear nothing. I don't see nothing. Hear no evil, see no evil. Okay. So for me, I usually will just go like do something. I'm taking a break. I'll take a bath. I'll go to my prayer closet and pray, which sounds super spiritual. And I promise y'all, I'm definitely a normal person. But one time recently, I did have to go to the closet because she talked loud and I could still hear her. And I was like, I don't want to hear anything because I don't want to put myself in a position where I'm feeling like I'm monitoring what's going on and making sure nothing's being said, because I just don't think that that has to be done. I will say for context though, that we have had situations in the past where, Nigel was made to feel very uncomfortable because his mom was certainly talking about me in negative lights every time that he spoke on the phone with her. So that's where a lot of this comes from. Of course, if the trauma wasn't there that things were being heard, then there would probably be no reason for me to kind of tuck myself away. But either way, she doesn't really say anything that is explicit anymore. However, there are things that I can pick up on, and only I can pick up on, because men just be like, it be going over their head, girl. So either way, that did happen this holiday. At least for Thanksgiving, it happened. So on Thanksgiving, we called, and I happened to be, I think I was changing one of my daughters, or either way, I was around. And I'm, like I said, I'm not typically around, but I was around, and my daughter was sitting on my lap. So I ended up having to kind of be in the video because she talking to her grandma and she's on her mama's lap. And what ended up happening is his mom was like, "Oh, so what did y'all do today? Y'all go out to eat?" So it was like, why would we go out to eat on Thanksgiving? And of course, and that was just one of a couple comments, but we'll focus on that one because the point of this is not to air laundry or whatever. But that comment was like, okay. So as a woman, as a Black woman who knows about the culture of Black womanhood, and that oftentimes Black women are, or maybe this is women in other cultures too. If you're in another culture, certainly tell me if this is the case for your culture. But there's like this battle, between generations in terms of food preparation and like who can cook better. And I've seen it happen in dynamics with like mother-daughter dyads that I work with and things of that nature, where it's like the mom is never going to give a compliment on the daughter's food, because back in her generation, all she had was the ability to cook in terms of showing her valuation and issuing worth to her. So if she compliments this, her daughter for making a meal that, is scrumptious, then that undermines her in some way, internally. So there's this like fighting, this un almost unrecognizable to people who are not a part of that culture, a part of the Black feminine culture, who aren't a part of it. You don't see it happening. So I knew in the moment when she asked, did y'all go out to eat for Thanksgiving, that it was almost as if like Dylesia can't cook. And granted, there have been multiple times where I have cooked and she's been around, and, I mean, people like the food and I certainly can cook. So I saw it and I saw a smirk and I was like, And I tabled it for later, because I was like, I know that this is something that I'm probably going to process with my therapist. I know Nigel's not going to understand it, so there's no need to even really bring it up. In fact, after we got off the phone, he was like, maybe people just don't know that we do normal things for holidays. And I was like, yeah, baby, sure, that's it. Because I just wasn't even going to get into that with him. But I knew from an analytical standpoint, and based on the history of our relationship, as well as her relationship with other women in her family, and just the way that she generally goes about in interacting with women, I knew it was a dig, right? So that was something that I had to, even if, small, had to recover from comments. And many of you out there have the same sort of situation where comments were made, and the comments, I only had one, but that's because I wasn't in person. It's a phone. We can cut it off. I can walk away. But when you're in person, it's not as easy. You hear these comments happening, or maybe you don't even hear them like your ear hustling or anything, but they're said directly to you. And after they build up over a while, you realize that there's this residue that is on you. So once you're acknowledging what happened, like what is the things that were said, what are the things that were done, once you acknowledge that, you have to think about, how did they make me feel? And granted, you're going to feel multiple ways. So in my example that I shared with you, just for being able to help you understand how to go about doing this yourself, for my example, I felt irritated, because I'm like, after all these years, you still, and then the boundaries that we put in place, you still either don't realize what you're doing, because some people have had this way of being for so long that if I brought that up and was like, you said that because of this, it would be like, no, I didn't. And sometimes, y'all, that's really not gaslighting. Somebody just really doesn't even know another way of interacting. So I was a bit irritated that either she doesn't know another way of interacting, even though we have presented multiple options, and given boundaries so that she could maybe even self-reflect and do some introspection and maybe go do the work to develop other ways of interacting with women. Either that, or you did that on purpose, and either way that it was, the feeling is irritation. It's not necessarily anger anymore. I think in the past it has been anger, but at this point it is more so like I feel sorry, because you'll never experience the genuineness and fulfillment of having a rewarding and supportive connection with another woman. And that for me is very unfortunate for someone. So I've been able to transmute my anger into pity, but I was irritated for sure. Then I was also disappointed in Nigel, because his valuation of the situation was completely alternative to what actually was going on. But he's not in the culture. He is a Black man. That's his mom. It has taken a long time for him to admit some of the toxic ways that she has. And even still, he doesn't specifically do them. He just kind of blanket statements. Yeah, you know how she is. So I think that he did the best he could with the information that he had, and that he wasn't doing anything to like undermine how I might have felt, even though he has no idea that I felt that way. So I was disappointed in him, because I'm like, I do this work, and I tell him all the time, because I don't think that Nigel buys fully into the childhood trauma being a strong indicator of current behaviors and a strong reason why relationships that people have are challenging in their adulthood. And the reason why is he does not necessarily want to face the music on having to hold people accountable that may not want to be. So for him, he has a different relationship with his childhood trauma and kind of waxes and wanes with whether or not it's causing him grief. For me, I'm sold out. I'm fully in it. And I'm always like, yo, you don't believe in the work that I do, but he does believe in it. He just is never going to see it as fully as I do, having been a therapist and also being somebody that saw trauma enough to be willing to fully estrange. And sometimes I think that it is difficult for him to um, even want to go down the road of acknowledging all the things that happen, because the fear is I'm going to end up with a relationship like Dylesia has. And I highly doubt that that would happen. But that's still a fear that's on the table because he's watching somebody like walk around and live this sort of life. So all that said, I was definitely disappointed in him for not catching it. He catches some things, but other things he don't catch. And I be catching stuff, like stuff that's not even just directed at me, but like the way that other women interact with one another. And I'm like, oh, did you see that? Because that is, that's toxic. And, really just kind of trying to assess situations, because I know that these are things that my daughters are going to have to be on the lookout for in the future so that they're not caught up in things. So, nonetheless, I was definitely disappointed with him. Irritation and disappointment were my biggest feelings. I will say, though, that if I was not as far along in my healing journey as I am, I would have maybe felt the need to prove myself, maybe felt the need to um, just let her know that like I'm taking care of your son. He eats well. I just would have felt this proving energy. And for me, I knew, okay, I'm irritated. Let me take some time away. Like, I think once they got off the phone, I ended up going to use the bathroom or something. And that was really me just kind of checking in with myself and being like, okay, Dylesia, so you know that either that was intentional or unintentional. And regardless of the reason, it is rooted in a lack of, like I said, knowing how to interact otherwise. And because of that, you shouldn't really feel irritated. You should feel sad. And so let's turn that sadness into praying that this person does experience joy with a woman in their lifetime. And even if that never happens, and what you pray for people never happens, prayer is just certainly a way better way to spend your energy than brooding over what somebody's doing. And then, to be honest with you, they need prayer. Like, that's ultimately what the person needs. And if we're really going to break generational curses, that is going to require us to distance ourselves from people enough to honor and love them enough to be able to pray for them. So yes, that's that. So I want you to acknowledge how you feel and know that feelings are going to be a multitude. So it's not just one thing that you're going to feel. Like I said, I felt a feeling toward her and I felt a feeling toward my husband, so it was directed at multiple people. And maybe for you, since you were at a holiday with your mom, perhaps there were other people around that didn't stand up for you, or that kind of fell into the trap of engaging in the conversation that was triggering for you without really even recognizing that it was a conversation that was directed at hurting you. So there are probably multiple feelings you have, and I need you to write them down for every single scenario that you experienced that was traumatic. So that is absolutely what I need you to do. Acknowledge, let us know how you feel, and then I want you to talk to a therapist, okay? So these videos are amazing, but they are not going to cut it, okay? We don't have a synchronous dialogue here. I'm talking to a camera, you are watching me talk to a camera. So it is important for you to take your health seriously and make sure that you are using the things that you learn here, the activities that you do here, and you're taking them to somebody who can actually help you process through them and analyze them from the lens of actually knowing you, because I don't know you. Now, it feels like I do. I know it feels like I do because my examples are spot on, because I know this population like the back of my hand, okay? But I really, really want you to take this information to a therapist so that y'all can work on resolving your feelings. In the meantime, as you're waiting for that appointment to happen, obviously there are some decompression tools that I can give you, so that you will be able to journey through those emotions, have that emotional journey, kind of figured out on your own. And if you're not able to go to a therapist, because that's real, sometimes it costs a lot of money, we don't have insurance, then there are definitely journaling tactics that you can do. So I have a journaling tactic that I developed, and it's called forgiveness journaling. And essentially what I do is I write the offense down. I write what, I would like to hear from that person in response to that offense, probably never gonna hear it, right? Because I am speaking hypothetically as I'm writing this. So let's say, for instance, with the example that I gave you, Nigel's mom said what she said, maybe in an ideal world, she would realize that she did that, or acknowledge that she did it intentionally. So there's either a realization or an acknowledgement that has to happen. And then from there, she might say something like, Dylesia, I realized that I sort of undermine your ability to take care of my son and grandchildren by asking if you all went out to eat for Thanksgiving. I know that you cook. I've eaten your food. I've actually enjoyed it, even though I have not complimented it. I know that you are capable, and some of the dishes that you've eaten or cooked that I've eaten have actually been better than mine. And I've asked you about that in a very twisted way, but I have asked you because I was interested. I really like the way that you cook, and I like the way that you take care of the people that I love. And thank you. Something along those lines. Now that was a on the whim, me just kind of spitballing it to y'all kind of thing. But basically, when you're writing what you want to hear from that person, you are writing it in an idealistic world. Like if they were the most self aware person in the absolute universe, this is what they would say to me. And then you write your response back to them. And then, that response doesn't necessarily have to be long. Like I know sometimes when I've done my forgiveness journaling, all I've said back was thank you. Thank you for acknowledging that. Because honestly, in an ideal world, they have said everything that needed to be said, and I'm just in awe. And I'm like, okay, cool, we got it. So say whatever you would say in response to what this person said. And maybe there are some more opportunities for acknowledgement, and you have to do a couple rounds of that role playing within your journal. But either way, that's a tool that I want to leave you with because forgiveness journaling is so powerful, y'all. A lot of times we have to seek closure on our own because people are simply not self aware or willing to be accountable enough to give it to us. So, forgiveness journaling has been super, super powerful for me. Whenever I'm mad at somebody, honestly, and I try to have a conversation or a conversation is off limits, and maybe when I try, I didn't get what I hoped for, or the conversation, like I said, is just not going to happen because I don't have access to this person. I am able to almost simulate, what a perfect apology would look like. And then it heals me. It heals my inner child. It heals me. And I want you all to try that. So definitely as you are watching this video, you might have to watch this multiple times actually, but I want you to, after you finish this video, to sit down and do forgiveness journaling based on all the things you wrote down that happened and how you felt, and ideally how you would wish that your mom would attend to your emotions and also to those experiences. And maybe even say, hey, these are the steps that I'm going to take to make sure that I don't do this again. So that is all I have for you all. Like I said, it will be short, sweet, and to the point. But I hope that your recovery from this holiday season is a joyful one. And I wish you the best. Let me know below how this exercise worked for you and anything else that you want to know, hear, any questions you have. And I will see you all next time on Mother Daughter Trauma Recovery TV. Bye.